Come these saints and come these sinners. Hey everybody, it's Madeline from Madeline Media. Welcome or welcome back if you've already seen a previous video of mine. I've done a lot of Bravo talk on this channel for sure, but I have never talked about the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which is hands down the breakout reality TV show of the current moment. I actually for sure resisted it for a while. Like with season 1, I just wasn't sure. I didn't like the idea that they were influencers because I think sometimes the influencer to reality TV pipeline can be a little bit ungratifying, shall we say. But once season 2 hit and it was all anybody could talk about, I knew that I just had to give it a chance because clearly the people that I respect their opinions were super into it, and I'm really glad I watched, and I totally get it now. If I look a hot mess, I took a shower, I washed my hair. It sort of dried, sort of not. Just to give some context, I work 6 days a week and it's like physical walking around. Like I am so fucking tired and I wish that I could like do my hair and makeup and like be pretty every single video. But to be honest with you, I'm just really burnt out right now and definitely feeling stretched thin. I have 1 day a week open and I use it to make these videos, so I apologize for my appearance, and if I ever seem like a little out of it, it's just that I am beyond words burnt out right now. So that would be why. That being said, I am going to be doing, like I say at the top of every single video, this one a little differently because I have created a tier list to rank the ladies of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and a few of the gentlemen. Just to give some context, the reason why I was able to add some boyfriends, husbands, and not the others, I basically just based it on whether or not they had confessionals. Like if their storyline was big enough that they had their own solo confessional separate from their wives, then I gave them a spot on the tier ranking. So Zach and Dakota had the biggest storylines of any husbands or boyfriends, and they definitely, had their own confessionals, and it was like a big talking point of the season. So because they were such large presences, characters, if you will, in the season, I gave them slots. The other husbands and boyfriends were less consequential, though we will touch on them as we go through the ladies. Just to give you kind of a rundown of the tiers that they can fall into. At the very tippy top, we have diva. Divas are girls who this show cannot survive without. Divas are, I can't look away when they're on screen. They are amazing reality TV stars, and to me, they are vital for the functioning of the show. Gorgeous girls, so girls that I love watching them. If they went away tomorrow, I think the show could still keep going, but I'm excited to see where they go, and I really enjoy them on my screens. Good waiting for you to be great is exactly what it sounds like. I stole that from Abby Lee Miller. It's basically like, you were good, I'm waiting for you to be great. Exactly. Flops, I think that speaks for itself. It's like, goodbye. And then jail, immediate prison time behind bars also speaks for itself. These are the people that if I never saw them again, ever, it would still be too soon. So with all that said, I'm just going to jump in and get started. We'll start with the husbands since they're over here. We have Zach first. And Zach is an interesting case because he definitely came into this season curating a redemption arc for himself. Season 1, he was definitely the villain for me. I hated him more than I hated Whitney. And, he had a lot to recover from. I think that there was enough time between seasons that a lot of people forgot about the severity of what he did to Jen in season 1. Not me. I'll never forget. I mean, to me, it was like I watched season 1 and season 2 in succession because I caught up on season 1 after season 2 had already dropped. So for me, I watched the whole thing in sequential order all at once, and to me, I find him disingenuous, and I don't believe him when he says, now it's time for me to be there for Jen, now it's time for... Season 1, your wife was surprised by her friends by a trip to Chippendales and you said she wasn't a good or moral person and that you didn't love her anymore because she was surprised by her friends with a trip to Chippendales. To me, that is abusive. That's not like, oh, we have a rocky spot, like we're arguing. You abused your wife. You have gotten her to a fragile mental place with your narcissism and with your abuse. And I'm sorry, but you being like, I'm giving up med school to like focus on my marriage, like you're supposed to be some hero for doing that. It's like, first of all, the only reason that you have to focus on your marriage is because you're the one who wrecked it to begin with. Jen didn't do jack shit. Second of all, I don't believe for a second that you were ever gonna fucking go to med school. Okay? Like, can we stop? This guy is wearing a backwards baseball cap in half of his scenes. He's clearly a moron. And I'm supposed to believe that he was supposed to become like an orthopedic surgeon or something, and Jen's blossoming influencing career got in the way. Like, I think the entire thing of him going to med school and moving their family away was a power move. It was because her career was taking her into the stratosphere. This group of women had her back and were telling her, you know, he's not good for you. He's treating you like shit. He freaked out and said, well, I'm going to go to med school in New York because it takes you away from everything that's giving you any shred of identity outside of me and being a mom. And it's taking away, you know, this group of women who are seeing what I'm doing to you and calling me out on it. I don't think he had any interest in saving lives. I don't think that was ever really a thing. I think that he saw an opportunity to isolate her from her friends and family, and he took it. And then when she left at the top of season 2 and they were separated and it didn't work, and the entire internet harpooned him for being the asshole that he was, suddenly he's like, I'm coming back. I want to save our marriage. First of all, red flag alert, the very first scene that you see him when he's like, I'm just coming over to talk and they're separated, he brings a literal suitcase with him. Like, it's very obvious he has every intention of moving back in regardless of what Jen's answer is. He doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about her autonomy as a person, as a wife, as a woman. He doesn't give a fuck. He's saving his own image. And I think a lot of people were easily fooled because he was like, mom talk isn't, you know, healthy. Like, you guys just scream at each other. It's not about empowerment, which is 100% true. But acting like the alternative to that is some happy, healthy marriage with him is laughable. It's laughable. Zach, I see right through you. You're a bunch of bullshit. I think Jen is really fun and modern, and we'll get into this obviously when I talk about Jen. And I think you're threatened by the fact that she's the breadwinner. I think you're threatened by the fact that she's smarter than you. I think you're threatened by the fact that she would probably have a lot of fun at Chippendales, and it would be fun without you. I don't think it's even about the naked men. I don't think it's about like, ooh, this is like risque. I think it's about the fact that you want her to have zero identity outside of being your wife and your children's mother. I don't think he sees her as a person, and Jen needs to divorce now. Anyway, I don't think I took a breath during that entire tangent because I've been holding on to that for a very long time. Anyway, it goes without saying, Zach, jail, immediate prison time behind bars. You're under arrest by me. And next, we have Dakota. So I've hated him since the first time I saw him. I didn't even have any context. I just already hated him. He's a complete douche. I think that the way that the show frames their relationship, Taylor and Dakota, is misleading. I think that Dakota and Taylor have fallen into this thing which is very common, I think, in young people's relationships nowadays, where the guy will mess up the entire relationship and be toxic and a liar and cause her to have trust issues. And then when she reacts in kind to the tomfoolery that he's done, they both take the position of like, well, we're both so toxic. Like, this is a toxic situation. Like, we're both to blame. In my opinion, Taylor has never done anything wrong in the entire span of this relationship. Okay, he was lying to her from the beginning. That's why she couldn't fully give her commitment to him last season, and rightfully so, because obviously she was right, and he wasn't forthcoming. He didn't tell her. He allowed her for an entire season. He gaslit her to be paranoid, saying this never happened, this never happened. I am upset because you don't love me, you don't love me, you don't trust me, you won't commit to me. How am I supposed to commit to you when you won't commit to me? Knowing full well that she was right and he had slept with that girl, and then it took that girl and Macy's, coming forward and Macy's detective work and the confession for him to finally be like, okay, yes, that happened. He spent a year eroding her mind and her heart and twisting her into a pretzel and causing psychological damage. And then the conclusion that we come to at the end is, well, they were both really toxic because she like reacted to it. And then people were like acting on season 2 like, oh, she's still sleeping with him, so now she's at fault because he doesn't know what to think. She's sleeping with him, but she doesn't want to be with him. I'm like, yep, you figured it out. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, yep. And yeah, it's, to be honest, I was kind of dumbfounded by the entire relationship that Taylor and her family have to Dakota. I do think that it's very foreign to me. I come from a very liberal family. I come from a very, whatever the opposite of conservative is, that would be my family. So to me, the idea of like, I've watched this man treat my daughter like a piece of human trash for years and years, but now because there's a kid in the mix, I want them to work it out, is absurd to me. I don't understand it. They've watched Taylor become a shell of herself and miserable and depressed and anxious, and they're like, but we still think you should work it out. Like, I don't understand that. I also think while we're on the subject of both Zach and Dakota, we need to nip this in the bud. Stop giving us solo scenes of just the husbands. I don't care who it is. It's not a slight to any of them particularly. That's not why we watch the show. They should be there for window dressing. I do not ever want to see solo scenes of just the husbands talking ever again. It's so boring, and I don't give a fuck. With that said, Dakota, you're going to jail too. Clink, clink. All right, moving on to the actual Mormon wives, the titular Mormon wives. We're going to start with Miranda. And Miranda is the perfect one to start with because she was a new addition only in season 2. She's also one of the original mom talkers. She was there before any of these other girls, obviously barring Taylor. And I'm unsure why she joined the show. She did make a TikTok saying that part of the reason it was alluring to her is because it would give her a salary that allowed her to be a stay-at-home mom, which I completely understand. But to me, it almost didn't seem like she understood what she signed up for. She seemed genuinely disconnected, disengaged, and oftentimes disassociating from what was going on around her. And with the exception of Taylor, she didn't have a real connection to any of the other women on the cast before coming in, which I could tell was definitely a roadblock for us getting to know her. I also think that she has this incredible connection to Taylor as one of the other swinging moms that's like kind of just never fully rectified. Like, they have that conversation at the fair and then that's kind of it. And you don't watch their friendship. They apparently, according to them, used to be best friends, talked on the phone 2-3 hours a day. But I never see that as a viewer. Not that they need to get back to that place, but it's more so I don't understand how they were ever connected because they just seem so different. And when they talk to each other, it definitely doesn't feel like old friends. It definitely doesn't feel like people who used to have sex in the same bed and shower together. It feels like two complete strangers who have never had a relationship in their lives talking, which I found quite strange. I think when it comes to the swinging scandal, it was wrong of Taylor to put that on blast without consent from the other parties involved. And so I definitely do understand Miranda's decision at the beginning of the season to be like, it was just kissing. That was all it was, and blah, 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 blah. However, I this contributed to my feeling of I don't understand why you came on the show, because you know that Taylor is going to tell the entire truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So if you weren't coming on the show to come clean and be like, yes, I was swinging and I did have sex with other people, so whatever, then what actually was the point of you coming on the show? Because the denials and being like, yeah, it was just kissing. You could do that from your Instagram. Like, that's the position you had already taken. Coming on the show to reiterate it was sort of pointless. And then, of course, towards the end, she does admit that Taylor was telling the truth, which we all already knew. Because this is the other thing. It's like, what's in it for Taylor at this point? To like sensationalize. She's already the star of this massive reality show. This is her story that she's stuck to now for years and years. She's been unwavering. She has no reason to lie about this. And so we all knew that she was telling the truth. I think the whole back and forth about that was pointless and exhausting. I did, however, really like her as kind of like a voice of reason. It felt like there was this third party that was from the outside looking in at all of these women, and I really actually liked when they would cut to her in a confessional and she would describe what she was thinking in the moment. I wish that she had voiced it more than she did, but there were certain moments, like I think she was a really good friend to Jen. I think that Jen, and we'll get into this when we get to Jen, shot for every time I say that, you know, she was going through a really rough she was honestly probably going through a mental health crisis. And I don't think anybody knew how to show up for her. Zach certainly didn't. I don't think any of the original mom talkers, first of all, even registered that she was going through a mental health crisis, let alone knew how to be there for her, except Miranda. And so that was like the role that I really, really enjoyed watching her in, because she showed up for Jen in the way that I hoped somebody would, which is, I know what it's like to be judged. I'm not judging you. And whatever decision that you make, I'm going to support it right now, because that's what you need right now. Okay. We can get into the nitty gritty of like, whether you lied about being related to Ben Affleck, like that's not the point right now. You just need somebody who's going to unconditionally love and support you. And that's what I'm here to do. And to be honest, that was really refreshing. Also, she, in her freshman season, gave us an iconic moment pointing with the Mr. Krabs claws. So I'm, for now, going to put her in good, waiting for you to be great. And I hope she comes back for another season and gets even better, frankly. Okay, let's talk about Macy, who is a real fan favorite. I would say this was a great season for her. She's killing it. She got pregnant through IVF and she got a book deal. And also, I think that couldn't have happened to anyone better. I don't think that there's another cast member on this whole show that basically everybody agrees is a good person and we're all rooting for her. I liked that they delved into the background this season of her first husband. The way that that grief can stay with you, obviously, is the father of her first child. I think the moment where Michaela and Macy visit the crash site towards the end of the season was a much needed example of why these women are fighting so hard for mom talk to stay a thing. Because there's a lot of talk of like mom talk, mom talk, mom talk, but it's sort of indescribable. It's like this nebulous thing that you never even really decipher or define what it really is, which, to be honest, I kind of like as a viewer. I think it's funny that the more they say mom talk, the less it means anything. But it did remind me, you know, in scenes like that, where it's like a lot of these women are born and raised in this very patriarchal culture that I think pits women against each other and keeps them isolated and keeps them separate through motherhood, through staying at home. And this accidental business of being influencers and being TikTokers and writing books has given them this sisterhood and this empowerment and this power, this leverage that they never imagined that they would have in their communities. So when they're able to find moments of sisterhood, like the one with Michaela and Macy at the crash site, it really is monumental. And so that was a good reminder, because I think there's so much infighting that sometimes you forget the purpose of like what they're fighting for. And that was a good reminder of like, no, this is what they're fighting for, so that she can have a sister who's there with her for some of the hardest moments in their lives. So Macy, you are a gorgeous girl. We love you. Next, we have Jessie. You're going to find as we go deeper and deeper into this video that I think I have opinions that a lot of people may not necessarily agree with. Jessie, I think, has become like this beloved fan favorite this season because of her fallout with Demi. I find her annoying. I find her almost excruciating to watch, and I also don't understand what she's doing there. It almost, like, I guess she was close with Demi. Jessie is like the one girl on this show who I can't imagine what she talks about with these other women in private. Like, for everybody else, it's like it makes sense that they're friends. They all seem so similar. They all seem to have like similar values. Jessie to me makes no sense on this show. I feel like she just seems so different than these other women. And again, it's like I just can't imagine what she talks about with them in private. It just seems like she's so fish out of water to me. I also think she is a pot stirrer who then like doesn't want to claim the title. Like the Halloween party, she invited Taylor, Dakota, Miranda, Chase all to this Halloween party under the guise of like, let's get to the bottom of the swinging thing. And then shit hits the fan like we all knew it was going to. And it cuts to her confessional and she's like, if I had known this was gonna happen, of course you knew. You either knew or you're the dumbest fucking person on earth. You knew these people had competing stories, conflicting stories about what really happened between the 3, 4 of them, whatever. And you were like, we'll throw them in a room and we'll get to the bottom of it. And you didn't think that that was going to entail any fighting whatsoever. By the way, I know we're not on him anymore, but Dakota not having Taylor's back at the Halloween party was my, like, not jail, hell. He needs to go to hell. Anyway, I think that she was majorly pot stirring, and then when shit hit the fan, she was like, did I do that? Which I hate. It's like, I prefer people who, like, will stir the pot, but then admit, yeah, I was fucking stirring the pot. I think Taylor's really good at that. But, like, if you're gonna stir the pot, at least be like, yeah, I did something kind of shady, and I knew shit was gonna hit the fan. It's like when Taylor sent Demi the Jay-Z Styles hair set. It's like, you know that she knew she was stirring the pot, and she takes full ownership and was like, I thought it was funny. This was, like, it was just so annoying to me, and I really didn't like the way she handled that. In terms of, you know, her fallout with Demi, she was completely in the right to be upset about the hair comment that was said in private. That would be really devastating to find out that your friend said something like that about your business, and I understand her wanting to put distance between the two of them because frankly I wouldn't be able to trust her after that, especially given the fact that Demi wasn't super apologetic about it. She didn't seem to really it didn't seem to really click with her just how hurtful that would be, and so completely understand. I think that it's unfortunate that a lot of Jessie and Demi's like fallout is stuff that is all like off camera and unrelated to the show. Like there's the contract dispute where apparently Demi was willing to kick Jessie off the show, which, like, by the way, as if she has the power to do that, but like would have been fine with Jessie leaving the show to get a bigger contract, and was like, we're all gonna walk, and Jessie was like, well, I'm not gonna walk. I mean, it's like, okay, this, again, is another thing that I feel has been blown way out of proportion. First of all, if she did say, we're all gonna walk, and Jessie was like, well, actually, I'm not gonna walk, it's like, okay, Demi and Brett definitely overstepped, but I'm not feeling like that. I guess I don't get the big deal. It's like, okay, they overstepped, talk about it later. They're just trying to negotiate a higher salary for everyone. It's not that big of a deal. 2, if Demi was okay getting a higher paying contract if Jessie got kicked off the show, good for her. Jessie was really boring in season 1. I didn't connect to her at all. Demi was, I know people clowned on her, but she was a fan favorite. I know people were like, she's not the fan favorite, Taylor is. She was a fan favorite. She was my favorite in season 1, and everyone I spoke to anecdotally, all my friends agreed that Demi was their favorite in season 1. So I think acting like Jessie and Demi were on the same level and deserved the same pay is a little laughable, a little absurd. I'm sorry, but Demi brought more to the table. I don't think it's like, and I know they're friends, and she shouldn't throw Jesse under the bus for like a higher contract, but also again, it's like it's reality TV. These are reality TV stars. I don't want them all to be boring. So I'm just speaking as a viewer right now, not as like whether or not I would be friends with them, but I'm like Jesse to me is like I don't know where to place her. I find her a little odd on this show, and maybe I just need to hear a little bit more about her personal life and like her own background and story, but as of right now I just don't feel much towards her. And also the entire Mauricio thing, I might just get into that piece of it when we get to Layla, but I will say off the bat, I don't believe for a single goddamn second that a single one of these women slept with Mauricio. Not one of them. I don't think, we'll get into it, but the idea that Jesse threw herself at him and was like coming on to him is so insane. The fact that anybody would even believe it is so fucking funny to me. Mind you, he literally comes into that meeting with Layla being like, you look really hot. It's like he's coming on to her in the first 3 seconds of them meeting up. And I'm supposed to believe that Jesse was the aggressor in an extramarital affair with Mauricio. Give me a break. Anyway, back to Jesse. I'm going to put her in flops. Like, I literally wouldn't care if she left the show. I don't hate her. She's not going to jail, but I'm also just like, okay. Okay, next we have one of my faves, Miss Jen Affleck. Obviously, this is a tricky one because she had sort of a truncated season given the fact that she had to stop filming. She was having a mental health crisis. And can I just say, like, major props to the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives production for allowing Jen to take that time off. I think that they could have easily exploited this like crisis that she's been going through for, you know, compelling TV, and the fact that they didn't and they cared more about her well-being. That is what I would like to see more of in the reality TV space, because I just think it overall leads to better outcomes for all involved. And so I appreciate the fact that they did that. I said this a little bit when we talked about Zach, but I actually think that Jen is one of the most intelligent women on this show. The more I hear from her, she just has a self-awareness and a context that tells me that she is very aware of the culture that she grew up in, how she is breaking the mold of that. And it's just like more than the other women, like the way that she articulates her standing both amongst the group and amongst the Mormon culture at large. I can tell that she has a lot of, you know, inner dialogue that is propelling her. And obviously I think that the smarter you are, the more miserable you are. So that probably does lead to some of her mental health issues. I do think obviously like the big part of her storyline this season was the, you know, Chippendales of it all and the lies and the idea of like, is she lying to Zach? Is she lying to her friends? Whatever. I'm going to break that down. I'm going to start with the Chippendales piece of it, because there was this argument back and forth again with Jesse stirring the pot where they're like, you know, Demi and Jesse were like, she agreed to it. She knew it was happening, and like trying to like plant this seed of like, Jen knew exactly what was going to happen. So her getting offended now is like so crazy, or like her not telling you, Zach, is so crazy. I obviously was not there for those private conversations, but I'll just say, like, as a viewer, it seemed pretty apparent to me that Jen had agreed to the idea of the men coming down and dancing and that being it. I have almost 100% confidence that she did not agree to be danced on and get a lap dance or anything like that, especially in front of her ultra sensitive, abusive husband. And so to me, it seemed almost like Jesse and Demi were taunting her a little bit with that Chippendales thing. And then when they were confronted with the fact that she was basically given a lap dance without consent, they like throw their hands up and they're like, but you knew. It's like, she probably did know that there was going to be a dance. I don't think she knew how aggressive it was going to be towards her in front of her husband. That was the vibe I got. I didn't think she was a liar. I think that she genuinely was taken aback by how far it went. The other stuff, like the back and forth about like the money and the gambling away of the money. Again, I actually did understand from Demi and Jesse's perspective that this would be incredibly frustrating if your friend was telling you how horrible her husband is, and then she stays with him, and then when you're confronting them about like, well, what about the money and what about all the they're both like, well, that never happened. That never happened. It's like, I would be incredibly frustrated as a friend. I wouldn't know how to help. It's like, you're telling us how awful he is, but you won't leave him. So what am I supposed to do? You're just giving me all this information of how you're being mistreated, and, I can't do anything about it. I would be incredibly frustrated. So I understood Demi and Jesse's point of view for sure. However, I do think that it was a little bit exacerbated, if that's the word. I do think that they took it a little too far by being like, she's a liar. Like, she goes to one party and she says one thing, and she goes to another party and says another thing. I think what's going on is, again, we are forgetting the context of her having an emotionally abusive husband who will threaten her, who will say, if she does one step the wrong way, he goes, you're an immoral person and I don't love you anymore. So I think everything that she's saying to her friends is actually true. I think she's clear-headed. I think he did gamble away the money. I think that he is a narcissist. I think that she knows all that because she's intelligent. She recognizes it, but she's also in an incredibly tough spot where she has small children. Obviously, her last scene in this season is her getting pregnant and being devastated by that fact. And I genuinely do think she loves him and wants it to work, despite the fact that she's intelligent enough to know that he is a narcissist causing, narcissistic abuse. And so again, the lying, it's like, I think that she probably is being, not super truthful with Zach, but I also think that's to avoid his punishing her. I don't think that that's because she's an inherently dishonest or immoral person. I think that she's probably being dishonest with her husband because she knows that sharing the truth has led to him being like, I hate you, I don't love you anymore, I'm gonna leave you. So she's probably fucking scared of him and probably telling the truth to her friends and then trying to juggle these two worlds. And nobody really seemed bright enough to catch on to the fact that that was what was happening. And so, I feel for her. I think she's a lovely lady who is just stuck in a really horrible situation. And I think that she's one of the examples on this show of like the push-pull of like being raised in a super conservative, patriarchal society culture, but being a modern woman, right? She's the breadwinner for her family. She is is that the word? Entrepreneurial. She's intelligent. She's modern. She's fun. She's beautiful. She has the rest of her life ahead of her. And she has unfortunately been raised in a community where all of that is punished and the only thing you're allowed to be is a wife and mother. And so I think she's really struggling with the tug of war of like, this is my faith, this is a big part of my identity, but it's also not meeting me where I am right now in my career growth and in my personal growth. And so I really do feel for her, and I think it's one of the most compelling and interesting tensions about this show that she embodies perfectly. I'm really sad that she got pregnant. I know that's horrible to say, but I do think it puts her again in this like situation that nobody wants to be in. It's like when Taylor got pregnant with Dakota. It's like, it's like horrible because it's part of their faith is, I know that they don't believe in abortion, but oh my God, what a lifesaver it would be. These men are awful. So yeah, I think, God bless her. She can, do whatever she wants. And I hope that she's back in full force in season 3 because she's definitely one of my favorites. But yeah, to be honest, watching her is a little heartbreaking because I feel like I just want so much better for her in every single capacity. That being said, in the tier maker, Jen, you go to gorgeous girl. We love you. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Layla. So Layla's an interesting one. She's obviously the only Black cast member. Jen is, Latina, but it's interesting because I think Jen definitely kind of has like that passing quality where it's probably not a fact that she's confronted with as often as Layla is. I also think another interesting difference between the two of them is that Layla joined the church like of her own volition. She joined the community of her own volition, and she wasn't born and raised in it. She just found the Mormon church and found community there. So I think that's a really interesting fact. I would really love for them to explore that more. And we'll talk a little bit about this with Michaela, but it's like all of these women's personal storylines are always like they exist for one episode and then we never talk about them again. I'm like, I know that we have to spend 4 hours watching the husbands golf and talk about Chippendales, but I would really like to see more of the women's personal storylines explored on this show. Also, Layla, amazing body despite 2 kids. Did anyone see her like walking down the runway at that swimsuit thing? Insane body. She didn't have much of a storyline again this season. It was just her boyfriend Cameron. And to be honest with you, I had a really hard time getting invested in any of that nonsense because I knew already watching it that they break up. So it was like hard for me to root for or against them either way. The main thing that she gets caught up in this season is kind of turning on Demi and Jesse and showing Taylor that group chat where they're all talking smack about her. I hated this. I felt like Layla has no loyalty. I mean, a couple people said it, like she's a follower, but I don't feel that way. I feel like a follower, even followers take a stand when they follow somebody. I feel like Layla has no point of view at all. I think that she showed Taylor that group chat, maybe to win points with Taylor. I have no idea why she did it, to be honest, because it doesn't seem like she really cares about Taylor or like has a strong sense of right and wrong. It doesn't seem like she showed her the group chat being like, and I really disagree with what they are doing and saying, because then when Taylor brings it up at the Saints and Sinners party, you know, Layla has every opportunity to jump in and defend Taylor and be like, I felt like you guys were being out of pocket, and so I showed her this. She's just cowardly. She doesn't cop to anything. The thing that she wrote about Jen being like, I think Jen is fake, she doesn't cop to that either until somebody else like finds it. I think that she moves in a really slimy, like low down way that I don't appreciate, to be honest with you. And she doesn't stand for literally anything. It's like Hamilton, you know, when they're talking to Aaron Burr, they're like, if you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? And she's so concerned with her own image and not wanting to fall that she doesn't stand for anything. She's like sneaky and slimy, and she doesn't take a stand on anything, and she doesn't defend anyone really, and she doesn't like go to bat for anyone. It doesn't seem like she really cares about anyone besides herself, and that's like a really bad look. I would prefer in season 3 that she take a side every once in a while. And by the way, you don't have to take a side, like if you truly don't feel that way. But to me, it's like she does things like under the covers, and like she's, I don't know I don't know if I'm articulating this right. I just think she's sneaky and I don't like it. Obviously the season finale ends with Layla having a conversation with Mauricio, trying to get to the bottom of the Vanderpump Villa drama. I'm gonna tell you right now, I hated how much of the season was revolving around this episode of Vanderpump Villa that you couldn't pay me to watch. Vanderpump Villa is about as exciting as pulling hair out of a shower drain. That entire cast is so boring. The premise of the show is boring. I don't care. They tried to, you know, it was on life support, so they tried to pull in a reality TV A-lister like Stassi Schroeder. I just watched all of Stassi's scenes on TikTok because I tried to watch the show, and the cast was so boring. I literally couldn't keep my eyes open. And now this huge plot line of the entire season is like around this, you know, synergy, like corporate synergy tie-in episode where they're like, we went to Italy. It's like, you were cameoed on an episode of Vanderpump Villa. The fact that Layla was the one to receive this information was confusing to me. I guess it's like, it's the way it's framed is like Layla was so curious about the Vanderpump Villa stuff that she called Mauricio to figure it out. But it's like, did she? I feel like producers were just like, who's free? And like threw her in there. Because it's like, what the fuck does she care? Like, honestly, like, what does she care? She doesn't care about it. I wasn't connecting the dots of why she would be the one to receive this information. Now we can kind of get into the Vanderpump Villa stuff, because I'm gonna tell you right now, Mauricio better get his ham head out of my show. I don't want to see or hear a peep from this man ever again. I don't know what happened in Italy. I don't give a fuck what happened in Italy. It didn't happen in Provo, Utah, and it didn't happen on my screen. So this is like a back and forth on social media. First he's saying Jesse slept with me. Now he's saying Demi put me up to it, and actually Demi slept with me. Or I know it's Demi, but let's be honest, we all want to say Demi. I'm gonna tell you right now, this man is not only a whore, like a sex whore, but he's also a fame whore, and he's clearly starving for attention. And I wish all of the women would stop trying to use him as a puppet, because I really would rather never hear from him again. I already said I don't think any of them slept with him. I think that he is just getting screen time. I think this is a whole much ado about nothing. I don't care. I guess we'll see how this like plays itself out in season 3. But to be honest with you, if I never saw him again, it would be too soon. And again, I was super confused as to why Layla was the one who received this information. So Layla, I do enjoy her. I have After everything I just said, I'm like, no, but I do enjoy her though. Okay, I'm gonna put her in good, waiting for you to be great. Sorry, like, or is she a flop? I don't know, because this is the thing too. Is like I think she's messy, of course. I don't know. I enjoy watching her more than Jessie. She makes sense on the show more than Jessie. Okay, good. Waiting for you to be great. Okay, we're going to move on to Michaela now. So, Michaela is an interesting one because she basically was like window dressing in season one, and she seems to have really found her voice this season, which is great. I thought her sharing her, journey with sexual abuse as a child was extremely courageous and vulnerable. That's a very hard thing to, explore even privately. So letting the entire world watch you work it out in real time is, again, insanely courageous and brave. And honestly, like, I know that we're not supposed to talk about this. I guess we've all like swept it under the rug, but the fact that her husband and her got together and it was statutory adds a level of complication to this revelation that has really led me to believe she might be one of the most like complicated characters on the show. She might have like a very, intricate inner life that we're not privy to. I definitely worry about her later in life and like her psyche and the fact that she had a baby when she was still a teenager with somebody who definitely shouldn't have been having sex with her and then married him. And they seem happy and he seems like a great supportive husband, but also that in and of itself is a crime and it's wrong. And finding out that she was the victim of sexual abuse earlier in her life also adds a layer to that where it's like, not only was she not able to consent because she was a minor, but I also think she probably had a lot of psychological stuff going on that would have contributed to her seeking out a relationship with an older guy. Anyways, outside of that, I do think that I found her a little insufferable. I mean, she was so brave to share the horrible stuff that happened to her when she was a kid, but she was just kind of insufferable. Like, I didn't understand her rift with Whitney. Like, apparently they were so close, and that was something that we never found out in season one. So now this, like, vendetta that she has against Whitney makes little to no sense to me. I do think that Whitney was messy as hell for coming to talk to Macy at Michaela's birthday party and not even acknowledging Michaela. Like, it's literally Michaela's birthday party, and she doesn't even come up to be like, happy birthday, Michaela. Insanity. She literally just comes to talk to Macy, which is so crazy. But besides that, I just kind of didn't understand the animosity. Like, I know Whitney was like flopping season one, but I was like, damn girl, like she wasn't that bad. Calm down. Like, even at the Mormon Bake Off, she's like, as long as I beat Whitney. I was like, okay, woo, let's take it down a notch. I just didn't understand where all of a sudden all this hatred came from. She's the only one to not vote Whitney back in to Mom Talk at the end of the season. It was just kind of bizarre, and I didn't really understand it. I also think Macy trying to like intervene and like that conversation between Michaela and Whitney, which was one of my favorite moments of the season, the one where Michaela is like, sisterhood is the cue, but then she puts herself on mute. So good. Great TV. But like, Michaela was so close-minded. They shouldn't have even set that conversation up because Michaela came into it with her mind already made up that she wanted nothing to do with Whitney. It was like a total waste of everyone's time. So to be honest with you, I found her exhausting for most of the season just because we spent like 0.1% talking about her personal storyline and the rest of it was just, I hate Whitney. So, whatever. Then she kind of redeems herself in the last few episodes, finding out that she's going to be pregnant at the same time as Macy and accompanying Macy to the crash site were very, very fine moments for her. And I did really enjoy those. So I'm going to put her in good, waiting to be great. And we'll see what she does next season. Next, we have Whitney. Now, I hated Whitney in season one, and then she really grew on me in season two. I don't know if you guys follow her on TikTok. She's amazing on there. I kind of like her TikToks more than anybody else in the entire group, which given that the group is about a TikTok business, there's something to be said for the fact that she is the best TikToker in the entire group. Now, I think in season one, the reason why I hated her so much was not so much because of like her going against Taylor. Like, whatever, the girls have to fight. It's a reality show. Like, I'm fine with that and you bouncing back from that. For me, it was more so about like the constant victimhood. Like, I love a good villain. They are definitely necessary for a reality show, but I can't stand a perpetual victim. I can't take it. When she was like leaving all the group chats and like leaving Mom Talk and then being like, why is nobody calling to check on me? Bitch, because you left all the groups. They're assuming that you don't want to hear from them. The fuck? That was exhausting to me and I really hated watching that. It was so annoying. I also think that the final straw was blowing off Macy's launch party. It was really selfish, really self-absorbed, and I really, really dislike this new trend in reality TV where they'll use like therapy psychobabble to justify shitty behavior. So like her coming to the birthday party, Michaela's birthday party, and being like, I'm sorry I wasn't there, but like I needed this and I needed that. It's like just because you talk about your own mental health doesn't excuse shitty behavior. Like just because you're like, I was in a really dark place, you didn't show up for your friend and it was felt by her, and she showed up for you in every single scenario, regardless of whether she felt like it or not. When she was like going through a fertility journey, she fucking showed up for you, and you couldn't show up for her on her big day, and you were shitty, and just own it. And I don't need to hear this like, oh, I was in a dark place. Like, we don't care. That was really annoying. And then I will say again, like, it's horrible. It's like horrible behavior, but her not talking to Michaela at Michaela's birthday party was hysterically funny, and it was great reality TV. So it was like a good villain move. It made me laugh, and I was fine with that. I will say, when it comes to season 1, like the Taylor stuff, I kind of understood Whitney being like, I understood Whitney being like not fully trusting Taylor, because it's like, yes, she blasted everybody's personal business for millions of people. So I did kind of understand that. And I do think that in season 1, she got way too invested in her like beef with Taylor. Like Taylor was like in another time and space. Like she really didn't care. I think her mom cared. We'll get to the mom in a little bit. However, I thought it was interesting in season 2 that I think the CMAs incident kind of vindicated Whitney a little bit, where it's like in season 1, she was like, I'm keeping my distance from Taylor because I don't trust her to not blast everybody's personal business online all the time. And then literally in season 2, Taylor posts that CMAs thing and everybody gets attacked by fans. It's like Whitney was kind of right. I hate to say it, but Whitney kind of got her vindication there, because clearly Taylor couldn't help herself. I also think I really liked the softer version of Whitney in season 2. Like, I think being a new mom, I think experiencing time as an outsider, it softened her and it made her like a good ally to people like Jen or Miranda. Like, I kind of liked watching her be a friend to them. She kind of almost seemed like very nurturing as a friend and very understanding. And to be honest, like, I would have voted her back in Mom Talk. I feel like I saw a lot of growth between season 1 and season 2, and she just seemed like a better friend, somebody who was really showing up for people in their moments of need. And so I'm excited to see like how that keeps progressing. I also want to mention, like, I couldn't make him a full-fledged like tier ranked character because I'm like, it's not deep like that. But her husband, Connor, at Friendsgiving, the moment that he shares with Taylor was really profound, really moving, great TV, and it really endeared me to him a lot and to them as a couple. I thought that he was that was a moment where I was like, this is what a husband should be doing on the show. If you have something to add that is tactile and useful, add it. And if you don't, shut the fuck up. And so I really enjoyed watching him at Friendsgiving, and I was really happy to see them as a couple and her as a new mom. I really like them. So Whitney has gone from like my least favorite to now she's like really grown on me, and I love her on TikTok. And to be honest, now that she's back in Mom Talk, I really can't wait to see what her place, her future holds on the show. So Whitney, you are going in gorgeous, girl. Yup. I know that people are gonna be going fucking crazy. I'm like looking at this tier list already, and I know already that you're gonna be going crazy in the comments. Okay, we've got the last 2, the big kahunas of the season, which is Demi and Taylor. That was like the main feud this season. I'll start with Demi. I love her. I'm like scared of the reaction, but I love her so much. She was my favorite season 1, and guess what? She was my favorite season 2 as well. Like, it might just be because I come from the world of Bravo in terms of reality shows. Who needs Nicki Minaj? They need rappers like me. We need reality TV stars like her. She was clocked in every single episode. She was a mess, but to be honest, she's also a star to me too. Like, besides Taylor, I see her as the biggest star on this show. I'm sorry. I think that people really love to like chase reality TV villains off of shows and then complain when they get boring. Like, I think that she's definitely been cast as the villain this season. I don't totally see it that way. I kind of see both sides of this, but I do think the idea, like, now she's not coming to the reunion because like nobody wants her there, and I'm like, Well, then what's the fucking point? She was like the main source of drama the entire season. If she's not going to be there, why the fuck are we hosting a reunion to begin with? Like, it just drives me up the wall. It's like Vanderpump Rules a little bit, where, you know, there's some shit stir. Like, Sheena and Lala are like a great example where everybody's like, we don't need them on the valley. And it's like, we don't, but also those other people are boring and so dark. It's like they're not fun. They're not fun to watch. I'd much rather watch Sheena and Lala than Janet and Jason. You don't have to love them, but you can at least admit that Lala had more charisma in that last scene of the valley than, you know, Janet's had all season. I digress. This is not a Bravo video. But I think, you know, she needs to come back to the show, or what's the actual point of watching, because she, on both seasons, completely clocked in and a major source of drama and a major source of intrigue of why people have tuned into this show. So that's my rant on that. Please don't kick her off. I will say the cease and desist to Jen over Italy is literally fucking insane. I cannot fathom why she would do that. Do I think she has something to hide about Vanderpump Villa? Yes. Do I think she has something to hide when it comes to Mauricio? Yes. Do I think they slept together? No. I don't think that's it. I think that, you know, she probably was a little too flirty or something like that. Maybe they kissed. Do I think they slept together? No. But also it's like, yes, good drama. Yay. Again, way too much Vanderpump Villa for me in this entire storyline, but I think the cease and desist was 100% too far, literally insane. And one of my pet peeves with all reality TV is when legalese get involved, like when they start going at it with like lawsuits, and it becomes really dark, not fun, and it's just like too self-serious for me. So I wish she had not done that. I'm tired of Vanderpump Villa terrorizing the show. We already talked about the contract thing. I know that was a big reason a lot of people turned on Demi this season. I still think she's justified in getting a bigger contract than the other girls. She is more clocked in than literally anybody else on this show. She delivers regardless of whether or not you like what she delivers. So, you know, sue me. Obviously, the big fracture between Demi and Jesse started with the revelation that Demi was shitting on Jay-Z Styles and saying, don't go there for color. Now, this is interesting to me. This whole, like, the way that the fans have fallen with this is interesting to me, because to me, when I watch this, I think that it was really shitty of Demi to say that. And if I were Jessie, I would also cut her out. I wouldn't be able to trust her again, especially given the fact that then in New Orleans, when she confronts her about it, Demi doesn't seem particularly remorseful. She doesn't seem like she's fully processing or absorbing the hurt that she's caused. It seems like she's more concerned with, how do I patch this up as quickly as possible? She doesn't seem concerned with doing the actual work that it would take to regain a true level of trust there. However, I do think that it's interesting to me that the fans were really upset about Demi being like, bringing up the police going to Taylor's house, and weren't upset at Taylor for dropping that hair thing in the way that she did. Because I know people are like, oh, the police with Dakota, like that's like a big deal. Like that's something that I guess. Is it a big deal? Is it a big deal? You showed the body cam footage on the show. It's like clearly not something that you're hiding. If it had been like some bombshell, like we hadn't known about it, it had never been brought up on the show, then maybe sure. But given that it was something that you've literally already spoken about, I've literally seen the body cam footage. I didn't feel shock when I watched. I didn't think that it was disproportionate to the jabs that they were throwing at each other. And to be honest, I didn't really understand the big hoopla about her bringing it up. I did think that Taylor bringing up the hair thing read as very calculated to me. I was like, huh. Because to me, it was like, okay, Taylor was sitting on this information that Demi had said this horrible thing about Jay-Z Styles for how long, you know? And she waited until a moment where it would cause Jesse maximum humiliation, like in front of all their friends, in front of the cameras. It's not like Taylor pulled her aside for a private conversation, was like, just so you know, like this is, she didn't bring it up when it happened, right? She sat on that information and stored it away in like an arsenal to use later. And to me, it just felt like Taylor doesn't give a fuck about Jesse or whether or not Jesse or Demi's friendship is genuine. All she cared about in that moment was winning, and it didn't matter who got hurt in the process. So to me, I thought it was a little interesting that, you know, people were so quick to be like Team Taylor on that one, because I thought the way that she handled that entire situation was honestly a little cruel. And I don't even like Jesse, But even I was like, man, that's cold. Like calling her out and like, I don't know, man. But anyway, Demi was obviously dead wrong for that. She should not have done or said that. And she also should have taken way more accountability when she was found out, but she didn't. So that's my spiel on that. I also want to talk about the Halloween party of it all, because if you're like me and you've been being like force fed an algorithm of Mormon wives, then you will have seen that in a lot of the promo for season 2, like these girls have been like kind of going at it in the interviews. Like Miranda was like defending her ex-husband, being like, Chase didn't even like push you, like you overreacted. And I was like, and all the fans were like, she totally overreacted, she's a snake. Like at least that's what the comments are saying. I feel like Wendy, that's what the co-hosts are saying. But like for me, I don't think she overreacted at all. A man should never, ever speak to a woman the way that Chase was speaking to those women that way that night. And he should never, ever, 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 ever dare to lay even a finger on a hair on her head. Like, to me, and this is like funny because again, it's like I didn't grow up very conservative. This is maybe just something I'm a little old school about. But for me, it was like, I don't think she overreacted at all. If a man had in any capacity in like a threatening, or not even threatening, I don't know the word for it, but it was like antagonistic. That's it. He was trying to be antagonistic by putting that finger on her. And to me, that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable, because it's like, you know that you're bigger than her. You know that physically you could overpower her. So you doing that in any capacity is almost a threat. Personally, how I read it, it's how I would read it if I were in her shoes. And frankly, even if you don't feel threatened, it's still inappropriate. It's inappropriate to put your hands on anybody in any capacity when what you're feeling and saying towards them is antagonistic or hostile. It's just not appropriate. When you're a man talking to a woman, it's a no-go. So people being like, she overreacted, I was 100% on her side on that one. And her getting her husband involved, hell fucking yeah. Did you see the way that Chase was like peeing his pants by the time Brett was done talking to him? I wish that I had Brett, like a clone of him, in a closet, and anytime I walked down the streets of New York and some guy even looked at me wrong, I could unleash him and have that guy stuttering by the end of it, because that's what he deserved. And by the way, Chase had been treating everybody like shit all night. His girlfriend, Taylor, Miranda, then Demi. For me, I was like, fucking get him. Get him. I was so done with his antics. I don't even know why he showed up. Ow. So the idea of like, and by the way, Miranda, like riding for him in the promos now, being like, you overreacted. I get that it's the father of her children, so she's going to take that approach. But it was laughable given the fact that we all saw what we saw, and we all saw how upset she was in the moment. So Demi, in my opinion, was 100% right about that. Now, here's another place where I feel like I am different from all the fans and from the women in the group, which is the way that the confrontation went down between Demi and Leanne, Taylor's mom. I was team Demi on that one. Leanne's mom, or not Leanne's mom, Taylor's mom, Leanne, is a massive fame whore and wants every inch of screen time she can get. She's constantly inserting herself into things that she doesn't need to be inserting herself into. And the idea that she's like this victim and like, oh no, Taylor's mom is crying. It's like, first of all, she shouldn't have been here in the first place. It's a thing that she wasn't invited to, that she's showing up unannounced with a shady gift from her daughter, which she knows is shady because she fucking brought it. And now is going to go to bat with somebody who her daughter has a hostile relationship with to begin with, without having all the information. And it's like, what did she think was going to come of that conversation? Do you know what I mean? Like, did she think that she was going to change Demi's mind? Or it's hard for me to fathom, because it's like, it takes two to tango. And for me, in Demi and Taylor's case, it certainly did. But it's like, you're Taylor's mom, so of course you're only going to see this like one side. The other thing that bothered me about that a lot was like, you are so critical of Taylor as a person in private, and then in public you act like this like Santa Maria, like you act like you're the Virgin Mary, and like Taylor is Jesus and you are this like saintly mother who sees no wrong in her daughter and like just loves her so much. And the reason I came tonight is I love my daughter so much. I want to have her back. You don't fucking have her back. You don't. You throw her to the wolves. All the men in your family that treat her like shit and degrade her and act like she deserves to be treated like shit. And you pile on and you act like your daughter's like a slut and she needs to get her shit together and your daughter's a mess. And you say like this jacked up shit to her where you like completely destroy her self-esteem. And then you're gonna show up to this party and act like you ride for her. Give me a fucking break. You know who she came to see that night? Not to me, not the other women. She came to see the cameras. That's who she came to see. And to me, gobbled her up, got her together, cleared her. I was thrilled. I was thrilled. And all these other women being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry she spoke to you like that. Don't want one, don't want none, won't be none. That's like my feeling about it. Is like, Leanne went there and then like leaves in tears after showing up to a place that she didn't need to go to fucking begin with. I'm like getting angry even talking about it because I'm like, it was just so obvious to me that it was similar to Zach. It was like she was victimizing herself. She was playing a part for the camera. It felt very disingenuous and inauthentic. And now I'm supposed to feel bad for her. And I don't. I think you need to go home. I think you need to treat your daughter in private the way that you pretend to in public and stay out of young people's business. It has nothing to do with you. Have your scenes, collect your check, but stop showing up to these events uninvited. Stop calling in as if you're a member of the cast. You're not. And I was completely on Demi's side. I also think like the content of what they were saying, like I have seen very little evidence that Taylor shows up for these women in a real way. It seems to me like Taylor floats in and out as she chooses, which is totally fine because she's like the queen of mom talk and she got them this opportunity. So it's fine. But like, to me, it seems like she doesn't really have a close relationship with anybody. And so I completely understand the point of view of like, your daughter doesn't show up for us. She keeps us at arm's length. She doesn't support us in the way that we support her. She doesn't check in. And then she throws us to the wolves of millions of people who adore her to attack us because we didn't comment on an Instagram post. Like, I do understand that. So that was another one where I was like, Leanne is like a fucking mess. And I'm tired of, she's another one that I'm like, let's keep her off my screen, shall we? I also think that something that got really overlooked given the drama of it all is her journey with infertility. I thought that Demi's entire contrast to the other women where they all have been raised in this community where motherhood and pregnancy is everything. It is currency to these women. It is social status, whether or not you can be a mom. And the fact that she's struggling with that is definitely something that would make you majorly insecure, but it would also make you feel out of place in your own community. It would make you feel so othered. Even the pregnancy roulette is like a great example of that. The fact that they could even do that as a joke is proof of how commonplace pregnancy and motherhood is, and it's seen as such a simple part of the Mormon community, whereas for Demi it's such a luxury, and I think psychologically that has to take such a toll on you. And so I really appreciated her opening up and crying on camera. I thought her reaction to the pregnancy roulette was absolutely fucking heartbreaking. It was really hard to watch. And I think it's really interesting, like seeing the tension between somebody who does struggle with infertility, who exists within a community where, again, pregnancy, motherhood, these are a major part of your social status. And so the other thing I would say is I wish that the show and the other women had not treated that infertility journey as flippantly as they did. I thought the pregnancy roulette was a little cruel. I also was like, I think that was another storyline, again, similar to Michaela with the sexual abuse, similar to Layla joining the church late in life. It's like, I would really like to hear a little bit more about that journey and explore it a little bit more and spend less time on nonsense like Macy and Michaela going through a car wash. I would much rather spend that time hearing about Demi's fertility journey. I digress. The other thing I want to touch on before we move on is the fact that Demi is the only cast member who seemingly will not be at the reunion. Cancel the whole damn thing. Honestly, I don't understand why it's not contractually obligated for these reality TV stars to do the reunion. My guess is because they decided to do the reunion after the contracts for the second season were finalized. But yeah, it's like, hello, she's the main point of drama the entire season. So I'm not fully understanding why we would even bother having a reunion if she's not going to be there. It's just going to be a bunch of women agreeing with each other and like being like, oh, you dress nice. Boring. I don't want to watch it. So I love Demi. I love her. I think she's complicated, and I also think she's a superstar, and I want her to come back. And she is our first person to go in the diva category. All right. Finally, last but not least, you know I had to do her last because she is the queen of mom talk and the queen of the show. We have Miss Taylor. It was clear from the moment that I started watching this show that she is a reality TV supernova, the likes of which I have not seen in a little while. I think that she has the it quality that is really indefinable, but you know it when you see it. I think she is definitely a revelation. The way that she carries herself with honesty to the degree that she will allow herself to be shown in an unflattering light because it's just honest is something that is rare air in reality TV these days. I think a lot of the reasons that these reboots flop, like Roni flopped, is because all of the cast members are so hyper aware of the way that they're coming off and social media, and like they're curating and producing to the point where it's very inauthentic. And Taylor just lets her life play out on TV, even when it's unflattering to her, even when she knows it might look bad or she might seem like she made a bad decision. She just lets it all hang out. And that is extremely valuable and extremely rare. And it is part of what makes her a superstar. So I want to get that out of the way because I am aware that, she is the star of this show. I also think that similar to Jen, she's another example of that push pull where it's very obvious to me that Taylor is this entrepreneurial, modern woman who is so comfortable in her body and sexuality, is so comfortable in her passion, in her drive, in her ambitions, that it comes at odds with the conservative Mormon background that she was raised in. I think it's really compelling to see the scenes with her family where everyone is ganging up on her and being like, well, you had sex out of wedlock, so now you deserve to be treated like shit for the rest of your life. It's like, it's actually a little horrifying. It was like a little midsummery to me because I mean, I watched it like this, like through my hands. I already talked about Dakota. I hate him. I'm glad they're not together anymore. I hope that the fact that they're not together anymore means that I'll see a lot less of him next season and hear a lot less of him. I think that the Dakota of it all really stifled her growth this season. Like, she spent so much time away from the other women dealing with this Dakota nonsense that it was like almost like it felt like she was on an island for a lot of it, which I wish hadn't been the case because it's like she's the star of the show, so we need her around the other women to kind of anchor everything. One thing I will say is the CMAs of it all, the drama. Do I think she should have put all of the other women on blast publicly? Absolutely not. I think that was erratic, which that's, her behavior. I also don't think she really took full accountability for it. People are acting like she did. I know she apologized, but it did seem kind of like half-assed. It doesn't ever seem like she had the aha moment where she was like, I just sent millions of people after my friends and made them, get cyberbullied, basically. I don't think she really ever had that realization, which is fine. But, as long as the sentiment is there, I guess she apologized. But I don't think she should have put people on blast. I think that was really immature, but, we're past it now. One thing I will say is Taylor is absolutely 100% right about the fact that these other women, not one of them commented. Come on, everybody was busy. There's 9 of you. Like, at least one of you saw this fucking post, right? Like, and the other thing too is like, yes, they were saying like, we congratulated you privately, but it's also weird because for people like me who now are like into this show and follow them, you'll notice that they comment on literally everything. I'll see a fan post about the show that has like 200 likes and there's like half of the women have commented under it. They live on their phones. They live online. There's no fucking way in a million years that all of them didn't see that post. So I do understand Taylor's point, and I agree with her that there was probably some resentment and some jealousy there with the fact that not one of them commented to be like, oh my God, amazing, congratulations. Like, it is a little shady. Like, I'm sorry. They see the most ridiculous, obscure nonsense, and they didn't see Taylor's massive CMAs post post. Give me a break. So should she have put them on blast? No. Is she probably right about the fact that they did see it and they're probably just being shady and jealous and resentful? Yes. I also think another one of Taylor's strengths, like why she's a great cast member on this show, especially just to be the anchor in the center of the show, is because she doesn't seem like somebody who holds a grudge. Like Whitney had it out for her all of last season, and Taylor is basically one of the first people to be like, come back in, like the water's fine. She's the only one who votes Whitney in immediately, you know, for when they're in, not the final vote in the finale, but like halfway through the season on the cast trip. I think that her not holding a grudge, she clearly doesn't hold one towards Miranda. She clearly doesn't hold one towards Whitney. That is really a major strength because resilience and relationship building on these shows is what gives it longevity. I also think it just speaks to her as a person, as being somebody who, you know, doesn't sweat the small stuff. She seems like a very forgiving person who, you know, walks the walk as well as talks the talk. Like, it would be one thing if she was like, I have been judged for X, Y, and Z. I have been ostracized. But the fact that she has taken those experiences of being judged and ostracized, and now you watch it in real time being put into practice of her being like, I don't want anybody else to feel that way, especially not at my hands, is honestly a really refreshing trait to see on a reality show. And I like that between two seasons, season 1 and season 2, I already see growth in her. Like, that's really cool. Also, hands down, one of my favorite moments of the entire season was her sending Demi that Jay-Z Styles box and that shit-eating grin in the confessional. That is some reality TV gold. Those are the kind of moves that I just love to watch. It's funny, it's shady, it doesn't hurt anybody. It made me giggle, and I was here for it. So, Queen Taylor, your family sucks. I hope that as you continue to grow, except for your sister is a queen down, but I hope as you continue to grow, you recognize that, you know, you are much bigger than the world that you were clearly brought up in. I can't wait to keep watching her star rise. I think it'll be really incredible to see. For our final ranking, Taylor Frankie Paul, Diva! Yay! So this is the final ranking, you guys. I can't wait to hear your comments on it. I can hear you typing away as I speak. I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on all of the women, the flop men. I want to hear what everybody thinks. I'm sure that my opinions are wildly different from the majority of viewers, so I'm sure you'll let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we will reconvene and we will talk more Secret Lives of More as we have more information. Thank you guys again so much for watching. All of my stuff is down in the description, my Instagram, my TikTok, all that fun stuff. Make sure you subscribe, turn those notifications on, and like this video. But most of all, comment. Your comments are my favorite part of making videos. So I can't wait to hear from you, and I will see you real soon.